this is Lori from the Crafting Auntie. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you've been with me for a while. So today I am going to show you how I created this beautiful journal. This is an open window spine journal, and I am using kits from Carolyn's Musings, and this is Emmanuel God with Us. So I have a journal topper I will put together and show you how to do. I will show you how I do this window, and we work through some things together. So let's get started. Okay, so to create the cover, I wanted a window, and so what I've done is I have some 110-pound cardstock. I have cut two pieces. They are 8.5, and they are, let me double check this, they are like 5 7/8. So 8.5, 5 7/8. And then I have two pieces because I want the spine to be sturdy, and they're 2 inches by 8.5. So I want to take one of these and create windows. And then I have this lace that I thought would be really pretty, especially with this Emmanuel God with Us, and it has these stars. So I thought this would be amazing to put in as the window. So what I thought about using an X-Acto knife, drawing lines, but I happen to have these dies, and it's a full set. And actually I think this one is going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler, and we're going to figure this out. So it looks like side to side, it gives me enough. And then what I thought I would do, so I'm just going to do this with you. I thought I would do is come down about 1 inch. So I'm just going to set this here and come down about 1 inch. Try and center it as best I can. I'm going to make a little mark here and a little mark here. I made this other mark, but it really isn't the right mark, so I'm going to go with this smaller one. And then I'm going to come down here to the bottom. I'm going to do 1 inch again. And then I'm going to bring this up, try and center it again, and I'll do better centering it once I get it on my die cut machine. So actually this mark is good. Actually it's not. Let me come up a tiny bit more. I'll make a tiny mark again and a tiny mark here. So I'm going to have, looks like about 3/4 of an inch. Yeah, about 3/4 of an inch in between. So what I'm going to do is go use my die cut machine. Okay, I have die cut this one, and then what I did is I just traced and marked little lines and die cut the second one because I want this to be sturdy, so I'm going to glue the two together. Let's see, I think it might go this way better. It is not perfect, but it's okay. I think I'm all right. Didn't quite get it exactly the way I would like it, but let's work through that. Let's put this on top, and then I'll just use my X-Acto knife. It doesn't matter on the underneath one. The one that matters is the one that's going to show. So I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife and make a few additional corrections to this. You can always work through a project, a problem, or something we encounter. So we're going to do that. Let's just adjust this a little bit. And then it's going to get covered, so you're not going to see it. Then I'll just use my scissors and snip out the rest. Like so. Okay, so then this one is going to go on, this one's going to go on top, so I'm going to just adjust this one a tiny bit. I think it's easier with my scissors. Well, maybe an X-Acto knife now. Now that I've snipped that, let's go ahead and just cut some of this off. Again, you're not going to see this. Just trying to make the windows match. It's hard to do that, and paper's too thick to do them together. So I think we're good. So, okay. Whew. We worked through that one. I always like to work through issues so we don't have to redo it. Okay, so I'm going to glue these two together. All right, so now we have our two windows. The next thing I want to do is cover this. So I've printed this. This is one of the backing papers that Carolyn has. I thought it would be perfect for the spine. And then I also printed this backing paper for the front and back covers. So I thought this would be perfect. I don't know yet what I'm doing on the inside, but the inside of the spine we'll probably cover with the same paper here. And then we're going to be adding the lace. So I'm probably going to add the lace, and then I'm going to cover some of that up with paper. We'll see how it goes. We'll just kind of wing it. Okay, so the easiest way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to glue this on, and then I'm going to trim everything using my X-Acto knife or my scissors. Okay, so I'm going to cut away some of the excess here. Kind of have the same on both sides. We'll be adjusting this as we go. And then from the inside, we're going to take our X-Acto knife. Now I want this to be folded over. I want all the edges to be covered. So the best way to do that is to take your knife and just take your time and just go from one corner to the next as best you can. Let's do that again. It's hard to get a ruler in here because we do have the thickness of the paper. So just do the best you can making those crisscrosses. Do that here. Oops. Like that. Okay, so we've got those now. So now what we want to do is fold these over. And it's better to do these first because then you can trim before we actually fold over the other side of this. So we want to just fold over each one of these to create our window. Use my bone folder here and give them a good crease. And then when you see it from the outside, it's going to look like this. Does that look nice? Looks really nice. Okay, so I'm going to also run my bone folder on the edge here, just to flatten that out. And then we'll trim a little bit of this off. A little bit more here. I want it to go at least to the edge of this, not over it. So that's why I'm trimming it a little bit more. And then we'll trim this one. Then we can glue these down. Okay, so now our window is going to look like this. So the next thing we can do is I'm just going to use my bone folder, and I'm just going to score all sides of this. And then we're going to have to trim it as well because we don't want it peeking through the window again. So the corners I'm going to trim just like you would if you were putting together a journal cover. So I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. Corner-wise, we might not have to trim too much. I think we'll be okay. Side-wise, we will have to. So I'm going to trim these down to looks like about 1/4 of an inch. Then we'll adjust from there. Both sides. Take a little bit off the top and the bottom. All right, now we can fold over. Doing the same thing on the corners as you would on a journal cover. So creasing those down so that when you fold up the other side, it will look like a nice corner. Okay, so I'm going to start with the small ends first. Get those down good. Get those corners down. And let's do the other side. Same thing. I'm going to do a little trimming right here. That looks good. This one needs just a tiny bit of trimming as well. Perfect. All right, now we can do our sides. So there is our spine. And so the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead off camera. I'm going to cover my 2 covers, front and back, using this green. And then when I come back to you, we will put these together into the journal. Okay, so I had to work through a couple of things. I had to figure out how was I going to put these together to where it looked nice. So I came up with a plan and it worked. So I'm going to show you what I did on the front. I'm going to show you on the back. So I have glued this onto double 110-pound craft cardstock. And then what I'm going to do is on one side, I want it to be pretty narrow because this is pretty narrow here. And I'm going to use this as like a hinge. So let's see, on this side, I'm going to cut it down to about like this, looks like about maybe a little over 1/4 inch. And then I'm just going to cut the rest of these down a little bit. I'm also going to miter the corners like you normally would if you were doing a cover. And then I'm just going to cut these down a little bit. So I had to work through this so I knew what to do. Because I was thinking, okay, I could just put this together, and then I was realizing, all right, how am I going to do this because I have a window? Now this side can be wider. So I will show you what I came up with. All right. So what I ended up doing was using this smaller piece, and that ended up being my hinge to this. And then once we put the lace in here, and then we also put more paper or, you know, something else in here, you're not going to see it. So what I did is this is going to end up going onto here on the inside. So I'm going to fold this over and crease it. And this is going to become my little hinge that's going to put my front and my back cover together with my spine. So I'm going to line this up. I just want to make sure I'm not going over into the window, and I'm not. So I'm going to line this up, and then I used Fabri-Tac on this, and I used Fabri-Tac on also gluing the 210-pound card pieces together because I figured it was a stronger glue. And I'm giving it a gap. So you want to make sure that there is a little gap there. So I'm trying to give it, it's probably like about 1/8 of an inch. And I'm trying to make sure I get it top and bottom situated before I press this down. And then just really press it down good. Now it shows the white. So I just cut another strip of this plaid and I just glued it on over it, which gives it more support as well. So when you look on the back side, now you've got your hinge to your spine and your front. So then all you're going to do is continue folding these over and gluing them down. And then that completes our front and back cover with the spine. Now it's up to you about covering some of the rest of the stuff, but once you get your signatures in there, you're really not going to see it. And we're going to be covering this with lace. So the next thing I'm going to do is just get these all glued down as you would normally a cover, if you have done a cover before. If not, you just fold these over, and then you want to press down the little corners here. Just these little tiny corners here. Let me get up in camera here so you can see better. So just right here, use your thumb or use your bone folder. Press it down really good. You want to do both the same side. So this end, you're going to do this end before you go and do the longer side. So you don't want to do a short end, a long end, and then a short end. You want to do both the same. So both short ends first, and then you'll do the long end. Just make sure that you've got everything secured down. I like using a bone folder because sometimes it has a tendency to just pop back up. So if you give it a little crease a few times, then that secures it. Got my towel here, sop up some of this glue, and then just keep giving it a little press, making sure everything is down good. So now this glue can dry. And then the only other thing I did was I put a strip, just kind of covering up a lot of that white. So I just cut a thin strip, measured it to the length I needed. So I'm going to cut that right here. And then I added a little ink that would be over on this side. So I took some of my walnut stain and I just went across this area right here and all across the white here, just so that it wasn't so stark white. Even did the inside of the window. So now we'll take our ink and the side that is going on, this side, the top and the bottom, I'm just going to add some ink because the rest of it you're not going to see. And then we're going to just glue this in place. So that was my fix to putting this together. I figured I'd work through it and then I'd show you what I did. So that worked out pretty good. All right, so now we have our journal constructed. So far, so good. Okay, so I want to let this dry, but I do want to figure out my lace. And then we can get that on, and then everything else can dry. And then what I'll do is we'll put in the signatures. So I have this lace, and I'm trying to decide. I really like this. I think this is really pretty, and I think it would show really nicely through here. I was thinking of the stars, but as I laid it out here, it was like very little was going to be in the window, and I really wasn't that happy about that. But I do like this, and I think that that would still look really pretty. So what we want to do is cut a piece. I'm going to leave this border here. This will be great to glue onto. Let me grab my fabric scissors. And let's just cut across here. And I want enough to be able to glue over on both sides. So I'm just going to cut this right down here. Sorry for my squeaky chair. It's an ergonomic chair and it's a little squeaky. So sorry about that. Okay, so we can trim, let's trim a little bit more off the top and the bottom. Make it straight. So there's that. And let me just trim this a little bit. Okay, putting this on, you want to make sure you're going to be stretching it so it's tight. So I am going to use the Fabrifix. So what I'm going to do is lift this up on this side, take this glue, and then I'm going to start right here on this tiny piece that we just put on, and a little bit over onto the cover. And then let's just start pressing that down. As I get to the other side, then we'll stretch it some more. So I'm going to add more glue. We want to make sure that this is going to stay secure. And then when we put the paper on top of it, that is going to make it even more secure. And this is just a tiny bit thick right here on these edges, but even when the paper is on there, I don't think it's going to be a problem. So I think we'll be okay. All right, I'm going to turn it around this way now. This way, when I put this down, I'm going to stretch it a little bit carefully so I don't pull up the other side. So I'll just be pulling and holding the other side to get this on here. And then we want to come across here, make sure that we get this on good. And I need to come across here too. Okay. So just carefully stretch. Stretch and press. Stretch and press all the way across. And make sure everything is down good. And now we want to make sure that this is going to completely dry, but look how pretty that looks. I just love it, love it, love it. Now we could have put glue, and maybe we still will. Yeah, we could have put glue in there. In fact, I think I'm going to lift this up a little bit. Sorry about that. I should have done that. Let me add glue here, just so that it secures it a little bit. And then let me just do this again. I'm always thinking of things as I'm doing it. That's why we work things through together. Okay, let's do it again, and then we'll press that there in the center. That's better. Now we won't have any buckling. So we've got all of this secure. So now let's look at it. Yeah, see, I was seeing a little bit of this buckling, not really buckling, but it was like pulling away. And I want to make sure that that is secure and that it's taut. So now this can completely dry. So we want to just make sure that it's completely dry before we continue on. Okay, so I have added a closure. So I've added these ribbons, and I have covered the inside with this paper. And I thought it would go perfect with the signatures. So now what I want to do is I want to do brad binding on this. So brad binding is just using brads to bind it to your spine. And that'll give a decorative look on the outside also of our spine here. So what I've done is I have made some marks. Probably can't see them, but I do have some marks down here. And then I've tried to line them up all the way across. So we have 3 brads per signature. And then what I want to do is take my signatures and I want to mark them. Now they're all the same height. They're maybe a little bit wider, which I'm not worried about. So what I'm going to do is lay it here on top and try to adjust it so that it is even top and bottom. And then I'm going to just take my pencil and I'm going to make a mark exactly where that brad is going to go. And then that's where I'm going to punch my holes with my pokey tool or your awl, whichever one you have. So I use this a lot because it's easy for me to handle. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up. I'm going to make sure everything is straight. And of course you want to make sure that everything is upright. But if you happen to make a mistake, it's easier to pull it out with the brad binding. So I'm just going to hold this in place and I'm going to punch my holes through. Make sure I don't get my cover here. So we want to make sure that we're getting right into the center. So you can see right here. So we're just making sure we are right in the middle of our pages. So we've got that. I'm going to carefully set that aside. Now you can clamp these if you want to. Now I'm going to go ahead and punch my holes here. And then turn it over. Take my signature, place it exactly where I want it, so everything is lining up, and then we're going to add the brad from the outside in. So I have these, and they're pretty long prongs, and they've got a really pretty head on the top, and I thought that they would look nice. So I'm going to use 3 per signature, so I'm going to get these 3 out, and then I'm going to go through the hole from the outside of your spine, get that in, and then we're going to put it right over the hole we made in our signature. So just line it up as best you can and push it into the hole. You may have to make it a little bit larger, so I'm going to do that. Just a little bit bigger, and then that way we can push it through. Just like that. Okay, so now you want to make sure that it's pushed in all the way and your prongs need to be vertical. So up and down, just like that. So that's our first one. Do the same thing. Come in from the outside in. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in as well. And then I'm just going to make the hole a little bit larger. And then we'll put this right over the prongs of our brad. Just carefully push it through. And then I'm going to do the same thing right here. Make the hole a little larger and push it right through. It's one of those things you just want to take your time on. And then again, you want to make sure they're going vertical. So just twist them around to make sure they're going up and down. And then secure them really well onto your signature. Just like that. And now we can fold it over. Give it a little press. And then let's look at the outside. So now we have our first set of brats in there. And you want to make sure they're kind of even, because if not, it'll look kind of funny if they're wonky. So I'm going to go ahead and press the other side down as well. Just give it a good press. And that way your pages will move more freely. Use my bone folder. Just give it a good crease. Front and back. What's nice about this is very similar to having your elastic binding, is that you can take these out. As long as you don't have any other thing that's going to hinder that from happening, you can take them out, you can change the pages, or you can fix if something was wrong. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to finish adding in the signatures, and then I'm going to come back to you. Okay, Carolyn has an amazing journal topper, and I want to put this on the front of this journal. So I have all the brad binding done, so you can see that. And so the signatures are all in. So I thought I would show you how to put this topper together. It's the first time I'm doing it too, so I'm just kind of following along to see if I can get this correctly. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is fold this piece, and you can score it if you want to. I'm just going to go ahead and fold. And then this is going to get attached to a base. Now, there's two bases in here, so I want to attach it to this base here. But before I do that, let's do a little bit of inking. So we'll ink around this. And then I want to ink here. So I'm just going to kind of ink as I go along. Okay, so this is going to get attached to the base right here. So hopefully I'm doing this right. I was looking at the instructions. Now there is instructions, kind of shows you how it goes together, because I have not done this one yet. So hopefully it'll turn out okay. All right, so make sure that it can still fold and that it's lined up. So this will fold. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fold these. Now I added acetate, so I already cut the hole out, added the acetate, so to save some time. And then this is going to get folded again, and this will get glued. Goes like this. So, and then I think it comes over this way, is my guess. Okay, so let's glue this. And then there's a card that's going to go inside here. So we'll glue this down. And I did print on these, as you can see, the backing paper. So you've got something pretty to look at when the card is out. So there's that. Now as I go along, I'm just going to add these. Now here's a pocket that will match up right here. So let's see. I want to do a little bit more inking as I go. So let's fold this. So 3 sides. And then that matches up to the little window flip. So I'm going to go ahead and give this ink as well. Oops. And then this will line up right there. So we add glue to 3 sides. So these flaps. I printed backing on everything because I really wasn't sure what needed backing and what didn't. So we're just going to line that up so you still see Seasons of Wonder. Okay. And then I've left on some of these tabs so I know kind of what to do here. So this is going to get glued to this side. So let me just cut off this top part. And then we're going to fold this right on the line. And I'm going to go ahead and ink this. Mostly I just want the white edge. And then this is going to get glued to the other part of this base. So the other side. So we're going to add glue to this. And then this will go right here. Just making sure it's not too close to the score line and make sure up and down that it's straight. Okay, so far we've got like that. Okay, now this, we're going to fold this over. Now you can glue this to side, so you can glue this front and back, this piece here, or you can glue 3 sides to form a pocket. So, I think I'm going to glue it completely shut. So I'm going to just add the glue here. Because I wasn't sure what was going to be glued and stuff, that's why I have printed on the other side. So let's just glue this one shut. And then it has a pocket. So let's put that on. Again, you're just going to be folding the 3 sides. And let's ink this. And then this matches up with the scripture verse, which is John 1:16, and of his fullness have all we received, and grace for grace, because Christ came, we've received blessing upon blessing, his fulfilled poured into our lives. From his faithfulness flows endless grace. He is the measureless gift of heaven. So let me ink this. And then we're going to match this up right about like, try to get everything lined up correctly. So let's go ahead and add the glue. And try and line this up again. I think that's it. Press that down really good. And then we have this pocket that will match up here. So let's fold these. Hopefully I'm doing this right, Carolyn. I should have probably played with it beforehand, but I thought, oh, well, let's just wing it. Let's do it with everybody together. So hopefully it's coming along okay. All right, so let's ink this. Such pretty colors in here. I love all the neutral with the reds that are just muted, not super bright. Just, I really, really love all the colors of this journal kit that she has created, along with the devotional. Okay, so this will get lined up right about there. Press that down really well. Oops. Don't want that slipping. Okay, so we've got that. Now we have pockets. It can go here and here. So let's go ahead and do these. So we've got this striped one. So I can go down here at the bottom, and then we've got this one. Beautiful greenery. And let's give this one ink. Now you can also do a notch if you want to. I'm not going to. So let's figure out these. So let's put one toward the bottom. So center that. And then we'll do another one. So these have these little cards. So let's see how high up this one is. And then we'll go just above it. Okay. Center that. Make sure it's straight. And then we'll put this card in this one, like that. And then we have this card. That is so pretty. Love all the colors. So this one, let's see. I've got this one as a card. I've got this one as a card. I think it's up to you wherever you want to put them, except for the one that goes in the window. Let's just figure it out together. We could put this one here. I think that one goes good there. And then in the stillness, he speaks. Let's pull that. Give it a little ink. Now you could also close this up if you want to. I like seeing all this pretty on the inside. And I'm going to slip this one right here. And then we have this one that we could also add right there. And then we have this. So this is the card that will go inside the window. Just going to cut this off, fold it in half. Give that a good crease. Give it a little ink. And there's some tabs here too. So I'm thinking that I want to add a tab to this one. Now you can also glue this shut if you want to. Let's just make sure it fits in here. Don't have any issue, so that fits perfect. Just take my bone folder and get this adjusted in here. There we go. And I think I like this tab. So let me just fold it in half, finish cutting it. And the other tab we could probably put on one of these side pockets. Give that some ink. And then let's take our card. And I think I'll just do it on the front part, so you could still open it up if you wanted to. You could always add a scrap of paper in there if you wanted to for additional writing. If you did it plain with a plain background, then you would have definitely, this actually isn't too bad. You could still probably write on this. So I'm just going to put this right there. And then we'll get this back in here. Need my little bone folder to give it a little nudge. Sometimes that bottom part catches. Okay, so we have that. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. Okay, I have this tab. Let's use it. I don't want to have anything left over. So let's put this on one of the side cards. Okay. Such a fun, beautiful cover flip out. Love it. Love flip outs anyway. You know, I've done quite a few, so I do enjoy doing those inside and outside. Okay, let's see. Let's put this one. Oh, that's where that card can go. I just realized it. Let's put it on this. Let's see. This is going to go like this. So let's put it at the top. There we go. That's where that card went. Okay, let's tuck this in a little bit further. So I think it goes, oh, we have decoration. I want to use the decorations. We have this beautiful bell and this gorgeous flower. So let's put it on this bottom pocket. Let's just collage it a little bit. So I'm thinking, put our bell here. And then our beautiful flower. Now before I put this on the front cover, I'm going to do some more decorating, and I will do a lot of that off camera. Then when I come back, you'll see everything. Okay, so I'm thinking that it goes like, so this would go in, got a pocket here, and this would go here. Now you could also do a little closure. I'm going to think about that because this is going to go right here on the front. So I want to come up with something, whether it be some twine or ribbon underneath that's going to come up and tie in the front, but I'm not sure yet. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead, finish decorating all of this journal. Most of the pockets and things you have seen from her other kits. So I had already done the CD envelope yesterday on my Faith Friday. So this one's already put together, ready to go in. So, yeah, I'll come back and we will do a final flip through. Okay, the Emmanuel God with Us journal is complete. So what I have done is I have added some trim here, and I came up with this ribbon closure for the top, added a little velvet bow here in green, sorry for the glare, and then I added some little bows in the burgundy color here on the spine. So here you can see the window, seeing the signatures. And then I added this trim also on the back. And then we have this ribbon closure. So let's just quickly go through this. So the front, we just untie this, and this opens up. So I thought this went really well, so I'll tie that later. And then I had made one of the expanding pockets, which is a challenge on the One Way Journal Facebook group that I put a video together. And so with that one, I glued some twine underneath, and then this opens up, and I put lots of extras in here. Anything I had left over, I went ahead and put in here. So whoever gets this journal will have something to play with if they want to. And then we just tie this into a bow like that. And I added this little nameplate. It looks like a normal nameplate, but I wanted to use it as a tab. And then I'll just start going through the pages, and I'll show you what I did. Now, this is also a freebie that Carolyn gave in our last month's challenge on the Facebook group. So I wanted to add some of these in here. Love came down for me. Okay, this, I added a ribbon closure. This is a pocket that matches the page, and then we have all these tags in here, and then I also added this tag behind it. So this has eyelets and a ribbon closure in there. So I'm just going to tuck that in, and then I'm just tucking it to where the ribbon will come up over the top like that. And then this is doily paper. Here is a little birdhouse. I just love these. Aren't they gorgeous? And a little pocket in the back. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing. And that just tucks right in there. Add it to a page. And I thought it went well with this page, with the birdhouse. Now this is the pockets that match the page. And then what I did is I printed another one, and I added the cross with some puff tape to give it some 3-dimension. I had thought about doing possibly some resin on there, but I thought it just looked really good as it was. And then I'm putting these two Glory Revealed and Behold Him cards. Tuck these right into the pockets, and you can still see the popped up cross. So I did do some pop-up on a few pages in here, and that's mostly, other than adding some of the other decorations and tags, which I'll be showing you as we go along, and envelopes. So I added an envelope here and added this card inside. And it's a little flip. You could do more decorating here if you wanted to, but there's lots of writing space. And then I made it a pocket on this side and just tucked a couple of little tickets in here. Beautiful papers, plus the doily papers that I have. I get those off of Etsy. And then here I popped this up as well. So let me just kind of show you the side view. So I printed this again on cardstock, cut this out, inked it up, and added this on. And then I glued some of the places that might be sticking up or might get caught to make sure that they didn't bend or anything. And this is the other side of the freebie paper from the November challenge. These gorgeous, gorgeous papers. And then on this one, I popped this dove up. So I did the same thing, cut it out, I printed it on cardstock and then cut it out. And then I took some of some of the tags, the tickets, and the smaller labels, and I created these little clusters of tags along with some trim and a brad. And then I'm just sticking them in so that they peek over the top. So I've done quite a few of those, and this is one of the envelopes. I just flipped this up. It does flip down and it does match here, but I wanted these to show, so I just did it that way. I'm sure there's another way of doing it. I've done it a different way on the last journal. I glued it to the back of the card. I'm not really sure if either one is right, but I think they both work. So we have more beautiful papers, lots of writing in here. Now, all the sentiments I just printed out and put in here because I thought whoever is going to get this journal, which I'm not sure who it is. I give away a lot to our women's study, and then there's been people that have been going through cancer situations, so I have been sharing a lot of journals with them, and they just love it. So whoever gets this, they will have something they could cut out and just add to some of the pages. So here's a couple more of the tags that I made, just layering and adding brads, and I use two different kinds of brads. I have a square and I have a round. Pages are so gorgeous. And then here I added the CD envelope that I did on my Faith Friday. And this one I also popped up. So I just did this upper part. So you can kind of see that that is popped up here. And then I just glued this down so it wouldn't get lifted up. I was trying to get creative with this and do a few different things. I try to come up with different things all the time, and sometimes it's hard. Have a little flip envelope here. You can have lots of writing, both sides. And then this is a pocket that matches the page, and then this is a journal card that I just folded, and let's see, I think it goes this way, either side. Put that in the pocket. So lots of journaling space. If you're a journaler, then this is perfect. More of the doily paper, and then I added a couple of the pockets with these journal cards, Grace Given, Love Incarnate, just tucking these in. Now you can do lots more decorating if you want to. And then here's another one of the tags that I did. And it's just 3 layers. You can separate them so you can see it, and then I'm just having them come over the top of the pocket, so you really don't need any additional decorating unless you want to. Pages are so gorgeous. And then in the stillness he speaks. So this one I have 3 of the file cards that are tucked into this pocket. Again, you can do more decorating if you choose. This is another one of the pages from the freebie that Carolyn had on the Facebook group. And then I did this bottom part, and I printed that on cardstock, and then I popped that up. So I'll try to get you to see how that is. So it looks like it's actually coming out of the window a little bit, like a 3D effect if you're looking into the window or from inside a building or house or whatever outside. More doily paper, and I was contemplating doing this one as a pop-up, but when I got the others done, I didn't want too much in here for it to be too thick and then You couldn't add other things in here if you wanted to. But I just love this page. Emmanuel, God with us. Joy in his presence. And then look at that beautiful snowy scene. Another envelope here, and I just tucked in one of these little envelope journal cards right inside here. So lots of journaling. A lot of people like to journal, and then there's some that just like decorating. I'm not a huge journaler, but I am learning. I am doing more. Always the same, forever faithful, unchanging Savior. Amen. And always count on him. Here's another one I considered popping up too, but I kind of had too much going on. And then here's another one of the tags that I just layered. And then that just peeks over the front of the pocket. And then another one of these envelopes. And again, I just flipped it up. So if you were to take these out, this would come down. But the way I glued it probably isn't the right way, but the way I did this one, I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure which is right, but hey, it works, right? And then I popped up this one as well. I love lanterns. I just had to do it on this one. The other side of the freebie that Carolyn had on the One Way Journal Facebook group. And then there's this page. And look at this. I didn't put anything on this back cover because I think it was getting a little bit full. So we just tie this front. We have a nice little bow there. And then tie up the closure for the journal. And then we have a nice little bow here. So that is Emmanuel, God with Us journal. This was so fun, and it goes together so well with the devotional. I know that there was a gal on our Facebook group, One Way Journals, and she kind of combined them both, and it was perfect. It was absolutely beautiful. So there's so many things you can do, and you can combine these two kits, which is the devotional, the same name, Emmanuel, God with Us. So that is my window spine, open spine journal using Carolyn Musings Emmanuel, God with Us journal kit. Plus, I used a freebie from the November challenge. Whoever participated, she had created a paper kit for them to choose if they wanted that in the challenge. So I used some of those. Other than that, some things, most of the things from the kit, and then some things, ribbons and bows and things from my stash. Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoy this. And I really hope you give it a try. It is such a blessing to go through all these pages and see the gorgeousness that Carolyn puts into each and every kit. It truly is the Lord speaking from her heart. Okay, well, thank you for watching. God bless you all, and we will see you at the next video. Bye.